Hi, everyone. Today is February 8th, 2026, and we are on day 8 of this regional war. I just wanted to reach out, give everyone an update on life here in the UAE. As most of you know, I've worked all over the Middle East, including most of the countries that you are seeing in the news today. Dubai specifically has been my home for 20 plus years. Now, I know a lot of people are watching the news, and I want to give you an honest, on-the-ground perspective from someone who is experiencing it as a long-term resident and as someone who considers this country, the United Arab Emirates, my home. First, I want to let you know I will not be getting into the politics of the situation. It is way too complicated for a short-form video. I'm going to quickly go over 3 topics. 1, our experience here over the past 8 days. I'll address the Western news media and what you see on it, and what our plans are for the near future. First, our experience. To say that this has been surreal is an understatement. I'll kind of give you the backstory. So last Saturday, I was working here in my office. Angela drove to another emirate, that's kind of like a state or a province, to have an oceanside co-working day with a friend. At around 2 p.m., the news started to spread about the US attacking Iran, and that they, Iran, may retaliate against US interests in our region. And our first reaction was total disbelief. We went, there's no way this can happen. And then we got a report that a US base here in the UAE may have intercepted an incoming attack of some kind. Then Bahrain, Saudi, Kuwait, Qatar, all started reporting attacks. Now, this was very similar to what we saw back in July, but this was way more intense. Within minutes of this news, Angela started on her 1.5-hour drive back home. However, while I was on the call with her, we noticed that the GPS coordinates were not showing her in the correct area. It was getting pretty obvious at this point that something was happening. GPS spoofing was happening. And this is a response to any kind of GPS-guided threats where the government scrambles GPS signals. We'll talk more about that later. So by the time she gets home, I have heard 4 or 5 very, very loud, what I can only describe as sonic booms. And some even shook the windows here. It is very alarming. It makes your heart beat a little faster. News started coming out that the UAE defense system was intercepting drones and missiles originating in Iran. And that's what the booms are. They're very loud and they're very scary, but they're also very far away because they're up in the sky. There's nothing between them exploding and there's nothing to deaden the sound when it comes down. So they could be 100 kilometers away. They're still going to sound like they're in the backyard. They're loud and very scary. Then reports start to come in about debris that has come down from drones that have been taken out starting to land on the ground in various areas. And we start to see video on Twitter, Reddit, and YouTube. I'm very well set up here. I've got all sorts of sources that I can watch, and I start digging in to see what is going on. So we're watching all the regular news channels here in our region, which is Al Jazeera, BBC, and they all start reporting as well. And when something like this happens, you get a plethora of information from several different sources. So let's talk about the news. As we've seen in other wars, social media is now playing a huge role in the distribution of information. And there's 2 things I want to highlight. Both fall in the area of media literacy. Number 1, the amount of disinformation was huge. And we put this into 2 categories. Accounts that were set up specifically to confuse and scare. These were very easy to spot if you know what to look for. They will post AI-generated content even from video games, misleading subject lines, and they're usually from accounts that look very Western, and they claim to be some sort of authority of some kind. In fact, one of them was US Air Command, which is not official and not US Air Command. And yes, they bought the blue star or blue tick to look like they were an official account. So if you're not media literate, you're going to think that the information that they're putting out there is real. And the interesting thing is they would take real information, intermix it with fake information to scare the crap out of people. They were showing huge building fires and making statements that half of Dubai was on fire, and then they would interdisperse that with good information like the shrapnel that came down from a drone that was taken down. So this really does cause a lot of confusion. If you're media literate, you'll know to ignore those and try to get to the real information. Then there's the real people on the ground, us, recording things and uploading them. Now we can get into a discussion on if that is good or bad, but that's for a longer video. So we started seeing that this was indeed a very real situation. And as we sat down for dinner, we started making decisions. Now, by this time, 6, 7 o'clock, mainstream media is starting to report. Now, they are a little better at vetting real content from AI and video games, but they are playing the same 15-second clip over and over and over again. Now, at this point, it's about 6 a.m. in Canada, and I figure I should let my parents know what they're about to wake up to. So I send them a message and I just say, look, you're going to see a whole bunch of stuff on the news. We're fine. Everybody's fine. Dubai's not on fire. We're just waiting more information to find out what's going on. Now, the US Embassy immediately starts telling its citizens to leave the region. The Canadian Embassy soon follows. The UK Embassy says be on alert, and other European embassies are starting to communicate the same. This is not abnormal. This is what embassies do. They are there to protect their citizenry, but we are residents. I've been here for 20 years. I'm not going to up and leave. This is mainly for embassy staff, government staff, and people that are maybe traveling through that don't have a home here. So we know that, but you're not going to know that out there. What you're going to see is the embassy has told all Canadians to leave. They're not talking to us. It makes no sense for us to leave our homes and go back to Canada. So there's a lot of community here. We're helping each other. If somebody does need to leave, we're arranging rides to airports. If somebody doesn't have a home and they're stuck here, the community reaches out and says, hey, we've got a place for that person to stay. So everybody kind of looks after each other, especially the expats. But if there is a countryman that is stuck at the airport, sure, people are reaching out. You can see it all over social media. So the next couple of days after it started felt a lot like COVID did. It was quiet, other than the couple of booms every day. And these were in other areas, like Abu Dhabi was way more active than here in Dubai. We did our best to stay occupied and get some work done, but we were very tired, very distracted, and honestly not feeling very creative. We did a lot of potatoing, just sitting around, watching the news, talking to friends, and that was it. Then social media feeds. Social media feeds were filled with basically two very distinct types of people. Some wanted to leave and wanted to document their leaving or their frustration with trying to leave. These were mostly people who were traveling through and got stuck, or people that were on their way out anyways and got delayed. And then there were the people who vehemently advertised that they felt safe and were very thankful for the government's efforts and were planning to stay. That's the category we fit in. That's us. We feel safe. The defense system is working. And yes, you're going to see Western media cry, the GCC, that's our region, we're called the GCC, they're going to run out of defensive weapons. That's what they're all saying. They're going to run out, they're doing math and they're saying, well, they've got 80 million drones and you only have 40,000 missiles and they're trying to do math like this, saying that we're not going to be able to protect ourselves. Honestly, it is not something that we worry about. There's something interesting living in a place where there are no political parties. We live in what is called a federal elective semi-constitutional monarchy. Basically, we live in a kingdom. There's one ruler, there's 7 ruling families, and they all do the same thing: protect us and make our lives better. I can tell you with all the confidence that 20 years here gives me that the leadership here is steadfast in their objective to make this a safe place full of opportunity and the betterment of every single citizen. There's all sorts of arguments against that, but I will stand by this, and if anyone wants to debate it after this is over, I'm happy to get on a call and have that debate with you. While you are watching your news reports over there, just remember that their goal is not just to inform you. It is to keep you from changing the channel. They will over-sensationalize, and while they may not be blatantly misforming, they will certainly bend the visuals a bit to keep you watching. I watched some BBC, CNN, and CBC last couple of days. And if you watch 5 minutes of it, you may get a good picture of what's actually happening here. But if you watch it for an hour or more, you may start to believe that the entire country is burning and everyone is at the airport waiting to leave on a plane that isn't flying. It's just not the case. They are not representing how we feel here as a citizenry. They're not representing us on the ground. They're representing a very small, thin picture of what is actually happening here. So now, it's day 8. It's Sunday night, presently. This is right now. I'm shooting this on Sunday night. And what are our plans for the future? Well, oddly, this morning, Iran apologized for sending strikes into the UAE and other GCC countries. And they said they would not do it again. 2 hours after that, we had more attempted strikes. And those have continued all throughout the day. It's quiet now, and it has been for the past 5 hours or so. Tomorrow's Monday. We will go to our meetings. People who can work from home will. Grocery stores will be open. Malls will be open. I will get my water delivered just like I do every Monday. We'll get a bunch of incoming warnings over SMS, and we will be careful. We'll be alert, and we'll take shelter if we need to, but the mathematical probability of that, very, very small. And we, of course, have discussed with all our friends and our community here, what's our plans for the future? Well, everybody has their own plan. Everybody plans based upon what is best for them and their family. We plan to stay, again, as long as we feel safe. We have go bags ready. But I always have a go bag ready in every country that I've lived in. It doesn't matter whether it's here or the US, or I always have a go bag ready. We have a very capable 4x4, a lot of camping gear. We live on the edge of a very large, vast desert. We can also fly out. And if commercial flights are not flying out of Dubai, we are a couple hours drive from Oman or Saudi Arabia. Now, to everyone reaching out and checking in, thank you for thinking of us. I know it is scary to know someone that is in a war zone or a disaster zone or anything like that. And the news does make it look quite intense. Just know that we're fine. And what you're being shown is a version of the most extreme parts of the story. A couple other things. First, learn how to use a map and a compass. GPSs do not always work. Second, Western media is accusing us, the residents of the UAE, of being paid to spread positive information on social media. And I get it. I know how hard it is to believe that citizens can actually be proud of their leadership. But I can assure you, nobody is being paid to say that we feel safe and believe in the leaders here. This is simply how we feel having lived here and actually experienced how the government handles the needs of the citizens. If anything changes in our situation, we will update everyone via my parents and our social media. Everyone will know that there's a change in our situation. I know this was probably way too long, but thanks for caring, honestly. And I hope this ends soon so that we can all get on with our lives and get back to regular days.